my goal is like try to do useful things, try to maximize the probability the future is good, make the future exciting, something you look forward to, Like, what are the set of things that can be done to make the future better? I think that a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars, this is very exciting. This makes me look forward to the future. This makes me want that future. The things, there need to be things that make you look forward to waking up in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you look forward to the day, you look forward to the future.
Elon Musk is probably the most popular billionaire ever existed. He captured the imaginations of millions and millions of people with his goals to propel us into a sustainable future and make humans a multi-planetary species. SpaceX and Tesla made such an accomplishment that one might think that Elon can make any mistakes and he's right about everything. But there is one thing that a lot of his supporters won't agree with.
Totally.
Thanks, Elon. And I don't believe you about the aliens.
I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope they're like, well, if they are here, I hope they're nice. They haven't killed us yet, so they must be not that bad. All right, any other questions?
If someone wants to believe in aliens, then it's probably the guy who risked all of his fortune to create a permanent colony on Mars and inspire us to create a future where we're out there among the stars and exploring the universe. So what is his reason not to believe that we have been visited?
The important thing is that we have established Mars as a self-sustaining civilization and that we have done whatever we can to ensure the long-term continuance of consciousness as we know it. Because as far as we can tell, the light of consciousness, which is a delicate little candle in the dark, it's only here on Earth. I mean, it might be other places, and there's arguments that it's likely to be other places, but honestly, we have seen no sign of it. And I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't know about it, and I've seen nothing to indicate that there's any alien civilization whatsoever. That doesn't mean there aren't aliens. I'm just literally saying I've seen nothing that could not be explained by other means, and where the probable explanation by other means is much more likely than this alien technology. For people that say like there are sightings of aliens, I'm like, listen, man, the resolution of the picture needs to be at least like 7-Eleven ATM good, okay?
Could he be right? Or maybe the truth is a little more complicated than that. We are unable to tell when the earliest UFO sightings occurred, but many believe that extraterrestrial civilizations have visited our ancestors for thousands of years.
There were well observed UFO cases, just like modern cases in the 18th century, in the 17th century. There was science. There were astronomers. They had telescopes. And they were very good observers because their life depended on being good observers. And these observations come from all over the world. They just have been forgotten.
Even Christopher Columbus wrote about an incident in his journal when he was aboard the Santa Maria in 1492 while he was crossing the Atlantic Ocean. He said that he saw a light glimmering in a great distance. It disappeared and reappeared several times during the night. In one of his tweets, Elon Musk said that aliens created the Great Pyramids of Giza. Of course he was only joking, but this wasn't obvious to everyone.
This is a response from Zaya Hawass to the American millionaire Elon Musk. What you said about the pyramids is completely hallucination. The pyramid built by Egyptians.
The extraordinary claims are not supported by extraordinary evidence.
There is so much evidence out there that even less than 1% is true. That would be enough to change our current paradigm. Many believe that the 1947 Roswell incident was the beginning of the government's secrecy about UFOs. Roswell was then home to the world's only nuclear air wing, including the B-29 bomber that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. After a severe thunderstorm in July 1947, a local rancher found what he claimed to be was debris of a flying saucer. Major Jesse Marcel was ordered to the site to investigate. When he arrived at the ranch, he found a vast area covered by unrecognizable debris. they stumbled upon what he described as a piece of metal, about 1.5 feet and 2 feet wide, and about 3 feet long. It was thin and extremely light, like an aluminum foil.
The thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it, you couldn't bend it, even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was. It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of.
The wreckage was immediately transported to a secret army airfield. On the 8th of July 1947, the Roswell Daily Record newspaper published a front-page article with the headline, "Roswell Army Airfield captures a flying saucer on a ranch in Roswell region." Soon after, the official explanation came. Army officials told reporters that what Major Jesse had recovered was only a weather balloon. He was made to pose with what he later described as fake debris. The weird thing is that after the incident, the crash site received extra military attention. Even weirder, according to the Air Force, their head of intelligence officer couldn't recognize a simple weather balloon.
What you have heard here today is evidence of a phenomenon. It sounds fantastic, and it is fantastic.
In 1967, at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, security personnel informed former Air Force Captain Robert Salas that they have been seeing lights making strange maneuvers over the facility. Salas later said that he thought that the first call was only a joke, and he told them to keep watching and let him know if they get any closer. A few minutes later, security called again. This time he was clearly frightened. He described seeing a mysterious red glowing object hovering right above the warheads. Soon after, 10 nuclear missiles, one after another, went into no-go, or in other words, unlaunchable condition.
Personally, I'm never aware of any 2 missiles going down at the same time, let alone 10.
The Air Force did an extensive investigation on the incident and was unable to come up with a probable explanation.
Hundreds of people today phoned the ZBC and the BBC correspondent in Harare saying they sighted an unidentified flying object last night. We have some eyewitness reports.
In 1994, a group of children in Rua, Zimbabwe at the area school saw multiple flying objects hovering right above their building. More than 60 children claimed that at least one of the aircraft landed just beyond the edge of their playground. The curious children between the age of 8 and 12 ran towards the object on the ground to take a closer look. The next thing they knew is that something was standing next to the spacecraft.
A little man appeared on top of the actual craft. And that moment for me was very distinct because I was like, that's not human.
They described this creature wearing a tight black suit, and the eyes were multiple times of a normal human being. The teachers and parents, of course, did not believe them at first. But after the children were persistent with their story, the parents wanted an explanation. Dr. John Mack, Pulitzer Prize-winning Harvard psychiatrist who became a researcher in the psychology of alien abduction experiences, interviewed the children. After he talked to each child separately, he concluded that they were telling the truth. Multiple children claimed that the beings tried to communicate with them telepathically, about how we have to be careful with our technology and take care of our planet.
I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world and we mustn't get too technologized.
We don't look after the planet. All the trees will just go down and there will be no air and people will be dying.
One of the most recent and most convincing sightings came from US Navy fighter pilot Commander David Fravor.
As you happen to be one of, at least in my view, one of the most credible witnesses in history of somebody who's witnessed a UFO, literally.
The Pentagon released 3 videos in 2020. showing US Navy pilots encountering what appears to be unidentified flying objects. The grainy videos, which the Pentagon says depict unexplained aerial phenomena, were previously leaked, with some believing they show alien spacecraft. During training flights in November 2004, Commander David Fravor of the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier was ordered to investigate radar indications of a possible target off the coast of Southern California.
So I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm gonna go check it out. That's what we're trained to do.
Fravor said that he saw an object about 40 feet long, white and oval like a Tic-Tac, hovering above an ocean disturbance.
If you picture a Tic-Tac that's about 40 feet long, round on both ends, no rivets, no metal, smooth white. It was white. It was just smooth, no wings, no propulsion, no windows.
A second wave of fighters equipped with advanced infrared camera took off from the Nimitz to investigate. They recorded their encounter with the object, which became known as the flare video.
How fast is that going?
For something to leave the field of view that fast with the pod just staring is pretty fast. I mean, it's like out of here. Let's just use the F-22 Raptor, probably the best airplane in the world right now, performance-wise. It can't take off like that, especially if it's a hover. I mean, you're talking something that's just sitting in space in the wind, and then it just all of a sudden accelerates. Airplanes don't work that way. This one is, you tell me, but the thing that we saw disappeared in a second.
Later, the radar operator told Fravor that they have been tracking these things for the last 2 weeks, but this was the first time they had planes airborne, so they had a chance to take a look at them. The most convincing UFO sighting to me happened on March 13, 1997. Thousands of people reported seeing a V-shaped object about 1.5 to 2 miles wide, with reddish or orange lights underneath, flying from the Nevada line through Phoenix to the edge of Tucson. This incident became known as the Phoenix Lights, one of the world's biggest ever mass UFO sightings. According to the eyewitness testimony, the object did not make any sounds. Police and military personnel and at least one commercial airplane pilot also witnessed the lights. The official explanation said that the lights were military flares, and some skeptics believe that it was possibly a B-2 bomber.
If you can imagine something the size of Camelback Mountain floating down Scottsdale Road, you have some idea of the intensity of this thing.
The object we saw, if we opened up a newspaper, you could not block out the object that we saw.
People say, Mike, now you saw a B-2 bomber. My response was, we could land all 40 of our B-2 bombers on the wing of that craft.
It's one of the biggest things I've ever seen that moved like that. I mean, it was just enormous. I don't know if it was as big as an aircraft carrier. It might have been, because I've never seen an aircraft carrier fly.
It barely missed that mountain.
Really?
Yeah, came floating over the mountain.
So had you not looked up, you wouldn't have known it was
No,
there?
my daughter, it was 8:30 at night. My daughter was coming over here, and she ran in and said, Mom, you have got to see this.
The governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, held a news conference claiming that they found the explanation.
He held a news conference after the Phoenix Lights to announce the mystery had been solved.
And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused into the room so that we may all look upon the guilty party. Don't get him too close to me, please.
In the alien costume, the governor's chief of staff.
Now, this just goes to show that you guys are entirely too serious.
Years later, the governor explained that he did not want to ridicule the sighting, and they tried to investigate it but couldn't get any answers. The news conference was only a response to the growing public hysteria and concern. He now believes that the object he witnessed that night did not originate from this planet.
Unquestionably, it was a UFO, which means unidentified flying object.
Right. Doesn't mean we're being visited.
Well, it's nothing like anything I've ever seen.
And you're an Air Force guy.
Yeah, and a pilot. Got a lot of hours flying. So it was pretty breathtaking.
How big?
Bigger than anything I've ever seen in the sky.
Like an aircraft carrier in the sky?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
When we were watching the Diamondbacks in Game 7, and the B-1 flew over.
Mm-hmm.
Over.
It wasn't a B-1 bomber.
Do you believe it was ours? Do you believe it was something from the U.S. government that they were kind of flying around?
I use the analogy. Can you imagine if you took Christopher Columbus and put him in the cockpit of a Boeing 777? What his reaction would be? He wouldn't understand it. He would be convinced that this is something from another world, you know.
Is that what?
And I think I really believe that. I believe that. But I've always been open to that. You know, we're not alone in the universe.
I agree with you.
We're going to find that. We're going to find that out one way or the other.
I do believe that we're not alone. I just don't know that we've been visited. But you think maybe that night we were?
I think so. Yeah, there've been so many different sort of sightings and inexplicable phenomena that, you know. But the disparity in terms of technological progress would be so vast that we would be, I think, of sort of no consequence to whoever is visiting us, because the technology to get here would be just beyond anything we could imagine.
Maybe it's our next generation we're working on. Who knows?
Well, we'll find out it someday.
In the summer of 1950, at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, Enrico Fermi had a lunchtime conversation with his co-workers. They discussed some of the recent UFO reports while walking to lunch. Suddenly Fermi asked his friends the famous question: where is everybody? The Fermi paradox tends to answer why we can't see any advanced alien civilizations given the unimaginable size of the universe and the number of possibly habitable planets just within our Milky Way galaxy. A new analysis of exoplanet data collected by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope has come up with some new predictions for how many Sun-like stars in the Milky Way galaxy are likely to be orbited by a potentially habitable planet. Based on the current estimate of 4.1 billion Sun-like stars in our galaxy, their models suggest that there are at minimum 300 million stars with at least one habitable planet. 300 million habitable planets only in our galaxy. And there are at least 100 billion galaxies in our universe. But some scientists believe that the number of galaxies could be well over 1 trillion. We have come up with many different explanations as to why we can't see any obvious sign of alien life around us. But I tend to agree with Elon on the most probable explanation.
I mean, if there are super intelligent aliens out there, they're probably already observing us. That would seem quite likely, and we just are not smart enough to realize it. Maybe they're among us, I don't know. Some people think I'm an alien. Not true. Not true.
But maybe we are alien.
Of course I'd say that,
maybe
wouldn't
we
I?
are alien, Ellen.
I always thought about this as a good joke. But who knows? He might be an alien. But it's pretty obvious that he truly cares about humanity's long-term future and the protection of our planet.